Well, hello friends, how are you today? It's Sharon Hankins here live I'm from the blog I Restore Stuff, and you can find my blog over on my website, irestorestuff.com, under the blog tab there, where I show you all sorts of upcycling, recycling ideas with furniture, home decor and signs, some painting techniques and all of that kind of thing. But right here, I'm also an ambassador for Essential Stencil. So here on their page, we're going to show you some live DIY projects using their stencils and transfers. All right, so I'm just going to grab a little bit out of the lid here. And this is the colour chocolate. We're going to just wipe that on in a nice even fashion along the grain of the wood. Now, sometimes pine can be a little bit patchy if you were really serious about staining. Like if this was on a piece of furniture or something, I might use a wood conditioner, which you can use first to cover your grain of your wood, and that way it doesn't turn out so patchy. It sort of gives your stain a nice, more even colour. Brown stain, and be able to still see in the grain of the wood underneath. So you can layer it on, wipe it back if you need to. Sometimes you can brush it on and then wipe it back with a wet cloth. But I'll just grab my damp cloth. Now, I could probably go in with some watered down paint and get those inside areas with a bit of a brush. See those inside areas of the signboard? I'm going to try and just see if I can get some of that with the cloth, so at least it's not too noticeable. What I'm going to do today, I want to show you, if you've got these ones with the pumpkins, the hay rides, the corn maze, you can use these arrows. I just love that these have the little arrows on them. So they have all different arrows. So there's 4 different arrows on them. And these arrows, you can use them. So this would be like a staple kind of set that I would get, because ignoring the words on them, these arrows are just perfect for these kind of signs, directional signs, on any of the other word sets that you happen to get in your collection. Okay, so way down there, and really easy to just go over this. And because, you know, it's a sort of a farm rustic sign, it doesn't matter that we don't do a full coverage of all of the words and all of the things. I had hardly any paint on my brush, and then just did a nice little swirly circular motion. But if you did want a nice solid coverage, you can go over with a second coat, or just keep going over like this until you've got it. So you could do them in different colours if you wanted to. That might look fun. For the sake of time, I'm just going to do them in this white. I love the classic white on the stained timber board. Imagining this is a nice fun sign for an actual fall festival or something. Imagine that. And of course you can tape them down with some painter's tape as well. Hay rides. There we go. Oops, we're getting a bit more solid here now. Must have had a lot on the brush then. Okay, here's our turkey. Comes in 2 sections. This is the second layer of our turkey, which will go over the top. We've got footballs as the tail. Don't you think that's just the cutest? Okay, so our turkey, I can see the holes of my sign. Great, perfect. It's just going to fit on here. So I have to make sure it's really right in the right spot. So I was thinking also of, Fusion's got a colour called cast iron, so even they almost look like a coal black, some of the turkey chests, a little bit of grey, you know, cast iron look. But I'm finding that this method will work just fine. And we'll move them around slightly as we keep continuing around. Because it's a circular area, it's a bit tricky to kind of get around. We'll be using this same method as we go around to do all the footballs. And hopefully we get it a bit better. Because we're going to go over those footballs, it's not going to matter too much if we've got this in the football area, as long as we've got all that covered on the inside of the turkey's feathers, turkey's head. Let's put some down, see what it looks like. And then we could go a bit darker. It's supposed to be a bit lighter, which I feel like that is. And one more football to go. Let's see. We can, hopefully the colours are all sort of blending and matching. And then we'll go on with our second layer. And so what we need to do is match our, so this is your line on your football. So we just need to match this edge here with this edge here. So we'll use our white, which I'm wondering, yes, we'll use that translucent colour. And so we will need to do a couple of coats of this to make it really stand out, the parts. But we will have to come back and do a few different layers, coats on this. So we've got that part. As that's drying, we are learning something new. I thought, oh, we don't have a lot of turkeys here in Australia. Well, we have bush turkeys. Okay, again, I'm just pouncing in this area. I can brush it a little bit better. These little, I can do a nice swirling motion with this because I've got hardly any paint on the brush. If you did have too much paint on the brush, be really careful. You're going to get bleeding underneath the stencil. And so just mind that. You must have just hardly anything on the brush, and then you can do a nice swirl around with that. There's this bit. Oop, probably had a little bit too much on my brush. Hopefully it doesn't have fuzzy edges or bleeding underneath the stencil there. And I always recommend practicing on a piece of cardboard, or like I'm doing now, just a really cheap piece of wood. This ply is really thin, so I wouldn't recommend buying these to sell or to use for yourself, but they're great for practicing. They're very thin. Ta-da! Oops, we've got our little sticky things here. But there is our fun little turkey bobbling away. And you can see that red I could just do with another coat on that. And then we've got the fall leaves. I've cut out some of those already. Autumn flowers, that's called. Autumn flowers. Has 2 sheets with beautiful autumn flowers on it. And then we've got these burgundy and rust florals. So there's these rust colour, and then we've got burgundy colour sheet of them as well. So 2 large sheets this size, and so many different fun uses for those. And this also has some gorgeous butterflies on it. From the fall collection again, our Jump in the Leaves sign. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to add the words Jump in the Leaves, add a bit of painter's tape. Yep, we can do this super fast. Cardboard for a little bit more off the brush because I can feel I've got too much on there. So I'm just being careful and pouncing it a little bit till it spreads out on my brush. And now I can go with a little bit of a more of a smushy twirl. And then we'll do these. Yeah, so I don't need to take those other ones off. I feel like my brush is small enough that it's not going to jump over there and get caught on the leaves and accidentally put some leaves where we don't want them. In this leaf. Let's have a look. See, all you can do is just kind of cut them up and have a look around, and he could be cutting the leaves away. Yeah, that would be a good idea too. Be an easier one to place. Hide those edges. So I do recommend adding a sealer like Fusion Stuff Coat that comes in a matte or a gloss finish. Spread them everywhere. Good on you, Mr. Worker Gnome. Falling down. Jumping in the Leaves, and these are all, everything's from the brand new fall collection. Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you everybody so much for your lovely comments, for joining in the chat. Got to run around and turn off that video. So thank you. Bye.